Kuphina kuphi emakhaya amadolobheni aseComplus takhona ke nawo onke amagumbi lapho uthamele khona SABC 1 Mzansi for sure sanibukela bekunene ehlelo lakho ilungelo lakho it's your right mina ke bakangwane ngisimpiwe encongwane isinilethela uhlelo lokumahamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure asingene zabeni F namhla. Well, it's an uphill battle for so many South African consumers struggling to survive under the harsh economic climate. Many suddenly found themselves staring poverty in the face after layoffs and reduced income. But others managed to flip the hardships imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic into a story of hope by turning their side hustles and dreams into new stable income. Sunzuka Sambo, who lives north of Johannesburg, now forms part of an emerging generation of entrepreneurs. Asasive ukuthi leli jaha lente kanjani kuze ukuthi liyeqele inhlupheko.
Likhala lokudendwa emsebenzini elimvuse emaqandeni uTsunzuka Sambo.
I panicked like everyone else, but fortunate enough ngasebenzisa iwisdom uNkulunkulu angiphe yona ukuthi let me do something on the side.
Ukuhlala exhaleni elindele incwadi yokudendwa esuka kumqeshi kumkhumbuze iphupha lakhe lokukhula lokushishina ngamantshontsho wenkukhu. uTsunzuka ebesebenzela inkampani esePitoli njengesekela mphathi. Njengabanye ke abasebenzi abasebatsha ebesexhaleni lokuba ngahle limgece izembe lokudendwa. Ngoku ke alindele lo ncwadi esuka kumqeshi uye waziqalela ishishini ukuthintela amanzi angangeni endlwini.
I deal with production of baby chicks. That's for ama-broilers, inkukhu zenyama lezo. So at this stage, zamaqanda angakafikeleli, but we are hoping ukuthi as the business grows, we will sizokhona ukuthi sikhona ukufikelela ukwenzeni zamaqanda.
Indlela eya kwelishishini imkhuphe kwimeko ebesele ethe zavava kuyo.
Ngadecide ukuthi ngithengisa enye imoto benginayo so that out of le mali engizoyenza ngizokhona ukuthi ngi-invest in certain projects that I'm doing, which is poultry production of baby chicks.
Uthe kanti usindile kwelo zembe. Ezo ndaba zimnandi zimfikele sele phambili nangeshishini lakhe. Kungoku nje ishishini lakhe lenza eyona mpumelelo ebengekayilindeli. uTsunzuka ke uphantse wangomnye wezigidi ezimalunga nethoba eziphulukene nengqesho okokuqale lo bhubhane. Ukanti eliqobokazana uzabesuthu Makhalima nominyaka ingama31 naye akaphozisanga maseko ukuxoza mphini wumbi akubona ukuba ukudendwa kusemnyango.
Ndabona kule company bendisebenza kuba akuhambi kakuhle ncam. Ndathi zabesuthu ufuneka utyile and qhuba unesiphiwo, and that was when I realized uba ndiyabona uba amagama nganyuka nanini na apha. So thuba kwesami isigqibo uba okay qhuba yibuqhuba ngokuba iyafika izofumana uphambili leta uba ifikanga well and good ke.
Ngenene igama lakhe liye lavela kuluhlu lwabo abakhululwayo emsebenzini.
Ngeli xesha ke le process yenzekayo emsebenzini kungona ndenza i-research uba ndingathatha into ethile ndidibanisa into ethile ndenza you know looking for i-suppliers as well uba ingandikhosta malini yonke le nto uyiqala nyani.
Uzabesuthu unyanzeleke ukuba aqwele yonke imali yakhe ebeyonga ebhankini ukuthenga zonke izinto zokuqala ishishini lakhe. Phofu ukumiswa ngci kwentshukumo kweli i-lockdown ukutsho abantu bevaleleke emakhaya kuko okuze necebo lemveliso yeshishini lakhe.
Ndibonile igap uba khona igap abantu basezindlini and the little thing you need just to keep sane wethu and you feel, you know, alive. Bath salts make you feel a certain way. So lavender is very like relaxing, and yeah,
Ukanti ngengeniso ayenzayo uZabesuthu uyakwazi ukubeka ukutya etafileni. Uthi yiCovid emnike amandla nesibindi.
if bengeko for iCovid ngengaqalanga isibindi ngengenaso ngensoyika even until now, because andithi dinala comfort yoba hayi wethu ndiyahola end of the month nesalary.
Ukuba ngaba uZabesuthu ebelawulwe luloyiko ngeyengomnye wabantu abangaphezulu kweshumi lezigidi abalala ngephango kweli. Esithokothokweni sobumnyama abanye babemi beli bakwazile ukuzihlangula kwingcele likakhetsekile. Umbuzo ngoku uthi afumaneka njani na amathuba enkxaso ingakumbi xa ungenayo nale imdaka yokuziqalela ishishini. Kwilungelo lakho ndinguphaphama Tshangana Dube.
Awasibonge ke ukuthi asewethu lapha Phapha Maduba ngisichophela kulo mbiko ke. Namhla ke bekunene njoba nathi ukuthi ke iFreedom Day ilanga lenkhululeko. Kepha nje umbuto omkhulu ukuthi ingabe sikhululekile yini nangabe ke abanye bethu bagidza enhluphekweni. And now to discuss further about the opportunities we can explore to escape poverty and the support available in the public and private sector spaces to turn our dreams into a stable income, let's now welcome via Skype Colin Leshou from the Small Enterprise Development Agency SEDA. Sinaige na Gerald Mwandiambira lumedege South African Savings Institute, and we're hoping to be joined by Nelisiwe and Nzimande, a National Youth Development Agency. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
All right, Gerald, we're going to start with you. Namuhla ke njengoba sigubha ke lisuku lenkhululeko iFreedom Day, the big question is, are we really free when so many South Africans are still in the clutches of poverty?
Look, I think the challenge is really that Freedom Day allows us to reflect in terms of how we are growing as a nation, and I think, you know, we have to start looking even at our education system, because if you look at the legacy of the apartheid, it's simply that, you know, we were all brought up to be employees and trained to really look for an employer, whereas now, post-COVID, we have to start looking more at creating entrepreneurs and people who are able to survive without waiting for a paycheck from someone else.
All right, Colin, what's your impressions of what Freedom Day means for South Africa and whether we really are free, despite the high levels of unemployment in the country and gross inequalities?
Thank you, Simpiwe, and thank you to all of your viewers. I think I actually thought about it this morning that for us to be really free is when all of us are economically emancipated. That means that everybody, you know, black, white, would be able to meaningfully contribute to the economy as well as GDP in South Africa. I think another thing for me that stands out is that, yes, we celebrate Freedom Day, but how many of our people are really in a position to say that, you know what, I have made something of my life in terms of making sure that I am able to contribute to, you know, the household. Yes. Because ultimately it is us being able to provide for our families and to put food on the table. I think also what really stands out is that, yes, we've got this freedom, but what does freedom really mean to us if we are unable to really care for the people that we love?
Yes. Namhla ke elayinini sina Nelisiwe Nzimande, yena ke ubuya National Youth Development Agency NYDA. Sakumole hlene sabona.
Sawubona bhuti nababukeli bakho.
Ngiyabonga
leli thuba.
Yeah, siyabonga kakhulu ke kuhlanganyela nathi ke namhlanje manje. Namhla ke njengoba wathi ke sigubha langa lenkhululeko iFreedom Day. Sina Gerald Mwandiambira na Colin Leshou. Bona ke bazama lokhu explain ukuthi ingabe kusho ukuthini kuba free. Ukuthi are we really free yini nangabe incumbi ema South Africans bagidza ke elidzakeni lelihlupheko?
Impela lenkulumo iyadingeka, especially kwi-constituency thina esirepresentayo as the National Youth Development Agency, intsha of the nation. Umubhekisisa sibheka at about a population of 20 million young people abangatholi imsebenzi, who are also struggling to create businesses. So impela ngiyavumelana with the two gentlemen ukuthi you are not really free until you are able to put food on the table, until you are able to support now and contribute to your household. So yes, economic freedom is a very essential ingredient to the freedom that we've earned or that was fought for by our forefathers that we earned over 20 years ago.
Siyathi ke Nzimande ukuthi ke lizinga lekungasebenzi noma ke unemployment lapha ke eSkhwahlande is at an all-time high and insha ikakhulukati ngiyona letsinzeke kakhulu. Kuthi ke ingabe yini insha lengasitakala kuze ukuthi bangene ke kulomshovo wema side hustles noma ukuthi icalela ibhizinisi njoba usho ukuthi they are struggling to start businesses yet so many of them they've got ideas but ku-implement leyo idea kunguyo lokuyinkinga so ukuthi bangasitakala kanjani?
Okay, so Tina, as umkhakha obhekene nentsha i-NYDA, sinama branches or in-network yama branches and districts awu 38 across the 52 districts of the country, and we are constantly exploring new opportunities ukuthi singafinyeleleka kanjani, because akusizi ukuthi sithi si available yet intsha yethu ayikwazi ukufinyelela kithi physically noma via email noma electronically, for lack of a better description. So NYDA inama branches and districts, then over and above that sinama programs ambalwa asiza intsha specifically. So sibaqala ngokuba assessa uma bengene branchini sibone ukuthi this young person angasizakala ngakweliphi icala, ngapha ngasemsebenzini noma ngapha ngakwibhizinisi. Masisuka lapho siyamsupporta futhi siyabafundisa intsha yethu whether it's on preparing for umsebenzi noma it's to run a business. And njengoba usho msasazi sibaqala la ku generate business idea. Masiba assessa simbona ukuthi cha umuntu usomabhizinisi lona, simqala kwaseqaleni simsize ukuthi acraft i-idea yakhe noma ayiformalize, bese siyamsiza futhi ukuthi ayisungule le business yakhe futhi simsize nokuthi ayikhulise. And there are different ways. So from i-training yethu esiyiprovidayo, there's another product esinayo ye-voucher. Siyamlekelela umuntu omusha ukuthi athola ama-accounting systems, athola ama-website, akwazi ukuziprintela ama-business card at no cost to the young person. The other thing that we do, sibaxhumanisa, sisebenza kakhulu no-SEDA. So sibaxhumanisa nabantu base-SEDA to join i-mentorship program yabo. Yayazi i-mentorship i-program yase-SEDA is very strong. Benza ama-gap analysis, baya-assessa continuously, benza sure ukuthi development yabo iyaqhubeka. And then ekugcineni ke uma sesibona ukuthi sesimsizile lo muntu ukumnika ama-skills necessary, siphinde ke sibanikeze ne-funding. Bayi-applyele through our processes. Bese-ke siyabasiza ukuthi bayithole le funding abayidingayo. I hope iyalekelela leyo information.
Kakhulu siyabonga kakhulu ke kulolu hlangothi ke Nelisiwe. Please stay on the line sitawubuye siqhubeke nawe ke kule nkulumo. Now Colin, sesimvile ke Nelisiwe lapha, she was just taking us through the programs by the National Youth Development Agency in terms of mentorship to young people wishing to start businesses, in terms of educating them on how to start businesses, and as well as just helping them generating ideas for businesses. So in your front, what is SEDA's doing in terms of assisting small businesses in this regard?
So SEDA basically is under what we call the Department of Small Business Development. And through what happened last year with COVID-19, we saw that there's really a need for us to look at our township and rural businesses, because that is where it was hit the most. I think through that, we have come up with quite a number of programs that we are currently implementing throughout the country. And I heard the previous speaker said that, they've got quite a footprint around the country, and the same with SEDA. We've got just over 54 branches. We've got about 105 incubators throughout the country, and we've got 50 co-locations. But coming back to the program, so we've got our township and rural entrepreneurship program, which is geared for the township business. It's a program that has really, we've seen the fruits, we've seen how this can really assist businesses that's in your townships and rural areas. And we've got 8 programs under that we're rolling out. Also, another one that we are looking at is localization, because we understand that there's a lot of things, and when COVID-19 hit and we had to look at PPE, a lot of that PPE came from outside of the country. And how do we make sure that Black business would also be able to, contribute to what is happening in terms of, localization and making sure that they manufacture product for the South African market, because it is important that we have people from South Africa manufacturing products for ourselves. Then we've got what we call business viability. Now, the business viability is a program that, we look at businesses that is already operating, they are making a profit, but they want to go to that next level. And that's where we want to come in and also assist them. And through these programs, what we are saying is that we understand what COVID has done to the economy. We understand what COVID has done to business in South Africa. And we really need to bring what we can to make sure that we are able to take these businesses and take them forward. SEDA is there to take your hand. So yes, we want to do that. Also, another program that we look at is access to finance. And we've got our own finance agency, the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. It's a sister agency to SEDA under the Department of Small Business Development. And through SEFA, there's a lot of financial products that they have, or instruments that they have that SMMEs can apply for, that will assist them to take their business forward. I think also when we look at these programs, they were really designed with the SMME in mind, making sure that, as I've already said, your township and rural businesses are the businesses that we want to target, and we want to intentionally target them because we understand their struggles and we understand what they go through as businesses in these areas.
All right, let's leave it there for now. We'll certainly touch base with you, Colin, after this break. And Gerald, I'll certainly touch base with you as well after this break. But we have to take a quick break now. Freedom Day, are we really free without economic freedom? Sina Gerald Mwandiambira from the South African Savings Institute, na Colin Leshou from the Small Enterprise Development Agency. And on the line, we're joined by Nelisiwe Nzimande from the National Youth Development Agency. Yilungelo, Lakho. Asasizishelele ngasetolo ngasanyakatha. Sanibukela bekunene-ke ihlelo lakho ilungelo lakho, it's your right. Tincingo tefe sedivuliwe ukuthi nawe ungaba ingcenye lolu hlelo. Sishayele licingo letincingo tefe letinsha ku 0117145859 noma ke 0117146778. Ungasithumela futhi ne-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungaphinda usithole futhi ku Facebook. Namhlanje njengoba ku Freedom Day kulilanga lenkululeko, sidinga indzaba ukuthi are we really free yini if singakakhululeki kundzaba temnotho. Singaba sikhululekile kahle kutembusave, kepha-ke ngetemnotho sikhulekile yini nangabe asikhoni kubeka liplate noma ke sinkwa embi kwetafula lethu ukuthi abantu bethu badle. Namhla-ke sina Gerald Mwandiambira from the South African Savings Institute, kanye na Colin Leshou from the Small Enterprise Development Agency, na Nelisiwe Nzimande from the National Youth Development Agency. Batasichazela abantu-ke ukuthi kuze singathi sita kanjani ukuthi siqalele emabhizinisi kuze ukuthi siphume-ke kulolu bishi lesifake kulo inhlupheko ngendzaba ye-COVID-19. Now, Gerald, we went to town just describing what economic freedom is and whether South Africans are really free. But the general consensus, I suppose, is that we are not really free if we can't put food on the table. We are not really free if we are not economically emancipated. So let's now get to the bolts and the nuts of how we can actually, extrapolate ourselves from the shackles of poverty. What is it that we need to do? There's what we call side hustles. What is a side hustle, and at what point does a business become a side hustle?
Well, I think, Simpiwe, the economic freedom starts really mentally. Because until you're mentally free, you cannot be free indeed. And it starts at education. I think there's more initiatives that are required at school level to emancipate us from thinking that we are born to be employees. Because if you're not born and bred to be an employee, when you're out of work and you're out of school, it's not the end of the world. You always are willing to make a plan B. Now, unfortunately, for most people, they've had to start making these side hustles and plan Bs as a result of necessity, as opposed to having been prepared to become self-employed. And I think that's what the future looks like for a lot of young people in South Africa right now, that self-employment and starting a small business is going to be the future. Now, when you look at young people, before you start going into side hustles, they need to also realize that the thing which the young people love the most, social media, is also a double-edged sword. So as much as people put up pictures of how successful they are in business, they're just pictures. And often what you tend to find, the reality when you're running a business is not that. So we need our youth to first realize that to be free, it's about being able to earn 1 rand, about being able to earn 10 rands or 100 rand in a day. It's not about having a big car, a big mansion, or a tender. That's not going to happen in the lifetime of most business people. And I think we need to free ourselves from believing what a business person is. A business person is someone who simply earns an income which replaces that income which they would normally get from an employer. So there are many small businesses who earn less than people who are employed, but it doesn't mean that it's not a business. And then what then happens is that once you're in that space or mind frame, you can then tap into the resources of the NYDA, SEDA, etc., to get that leverage. Leverage is simply a fancy word to say you can borrow or get a grant to take your business up to the next level. So I think, the first step of freedom is to realize that you are free to earn a living. You are free to think of a plan, and that plan does not necessarily have to depend on someone. Out of these side hustles, you can see that with COVID-19, a lot has changed. We've now got a whole digital economy. Because people are working from home, you've seen the growth of delivery services. Whether you have a bicycle, a car, or even do it by foot, you can earn money by delivering food to someone's house who doesn't want to go out and get it. And it won't buy you a mansion. It's not a big tender, but it's a business. And other businesses which you have seen growing quite a lot with COVID-19, because people are sitting at home, is education and home tutoring. So that's another small business which a lot of youth can start going into, teaching each other how to basically, learn, and teaching the youngest children who are not in school extra lessons, etc. So there have been a lot of side hustles which are now main hustles. But what tends to happen is we also need to stop calling them side hustles. It's not a side hustle if it's earning you money.
Yes.
It's a hustle.
No matter how much it's earning you, it is a hustle
to your main hustle. You can't say this is a side hustle because it's earning less money. Because a lot of people will tell you their side hustles are now their main hustles because employers shut down. So again, it's in the mind. Let's free our mind from some of these terms. It's not a side hustle, it's an income. It's a small business. So you might be someone who has a multiple income environment, which means you're better than someone who's earning a single income. But don't call it a side hustle because it's like, being called a side chick. It's something on the side which can be thrown away. No, it's a real hustle, and we can start earning money from these so-called other hustles. Online has grown quite a lot. A lot of people earning money from podcasts and doing all sorts of videos and they're earning money. And also, finally, I would like to touch on another part of the economy which a lot of youth are participating because of COVID-19, which is home support. Because you're sitting at home, things like DIY, home improvement, people are doing things at home. So you've seen the furniture industry, people telling you that they're doing a lot more work in that space. And you're also seeing, those TVET students who are doing vocational courses, which everybody thought didn't matter. They are working, because those vocations actually work all the time. So it's also about us respecting those hustles we thought don't earn, they don't work in suits and fancy offices, plumbers, electricians, construction workers. There is no such thing as a side hustle. If you call it a side hustle, go get yourself a side chick.
All right, Gerald, we'll certainly be discussing more about the fuel to these business ideas. Colin, Leshou, I'll also touch base with you in a moment. Now again, Nelisiwe and Nzimande on the line. We'll definitely touch base with you in a moment. But for now, let's take our first caller. Sinathemba ulapha eMelo. Sakumoneni hlene sabona.
Njani baba?
Siyaphila kunjani baba?
Ngiyaphila. Mina nje inkinga engisabhekene nayo nje thina sihlala emakhaya man. Sibhekene nengcindezi enkulu because sinawo lama business idea. But labo bantu abazo-encourage ukuthi kena le business leli ungasuka kuphi noma wenze inani cause ngake nga-applyela NYDA yanginikeza ama-forms manje angazi ukuthi ama-quotation bengenzelwa ngibani cause vele kuba nzima nje sihlangabezana nalezo inkinga lezo.
Okay, Themba Emelo siyabonga kakhulu ukusishayela. Nelisiwe ngiyathemba ukuthi uyivile inkinga lekadibana nayo Themba ukuthi ke banawo lama business ideas kepha ke kude lo aba coach ukuthi bawaphushe lama idea kuze kuthi kube ibhizinisi letakhona kubaphilisa. Uzamile kwenta ama quotation kepha ke the big issue is he doesn't know where to from here. Nelisiwe.
Impela ngimzwile msasazi ngimlalele ngiyaxolisa ukena mukhanong kaSotho but ngimzwile nje impela and that is one of the things esizama ukuyisombulula nathi as the NYDA yiko sisungule ama district offices kuze sisondele kwintsha that is in the rural areas sikwazi ukubasiza sibanikeze ama programs ne support lena that young people abasemadolobheni have access to. But just to raise another issue, connectivity yasema rural areas also needs to improve quite significantly to also ukuthi isize ukuthi noma singakwazi ukufinyelela physically sikwazi ukuxhumana nabo whether it's via email noma bakwazi ukufaka ama applications wabo electronically sikwazi nakhona ukubasiza so ngimzwile kakhulu ekugcineni sengimprovidile with our contact details as the NYDA uzakwazi ukuraise ama issues wakhe and sizokhuluma naye directly. I know our call center is very supportive and very responsive to queries of young people. I hope that provides a sufficient response. Noma ngingaqhubeka ngiye phambili.
Okay, no, sitawucela ukuthi ke uyivale kwanyalo ngoba ngisa ekhefini nyalo and siyathemba ukuthi utasharishela ke ukuthi the information ukuthi amahhovisi enu kuma districts akuphi towards the end of the show. But for now, let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Remember that our participation lines are now open. Sishayela kucingo ku 0117145958 noma ke 0117146778. You can also email your thoughts to consumer@sabc.co.za or like our Facebook page and as well as post your comments there. Namhla ke bekunene sina Nelisiwe Nzimande uqhamuka ke etiko le National Youth Development Agency NYDA, sina Colin Leshou uqhamuka ke Small Enterprise Development Agency SEDA kanye ke na Gerald Mwandiambira from the South African Savings Institute. Now, Colin, I want us to get into the granular details of, at what point does one have to know that a side hustle becomes, a major business for their livelihoods? And Gerald Mwandiambira earlier on said that we should stop this notion of calling a business idea a side hustle, because as long as it can earn you a rand, it is a business that you can live by.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think just to say that Gerald actually touched on sustainability. And one of the things that we are very, very, particular about is that we want to create sustainable businesses through making sure that the jockeys or the entrepreneurs are able to, have businesses that they've built from the ground without necessarily tendering, etc. But I think the question, at what stage would you know that? I think what we aim to do from a SEDA perspective is that we've got a program which is entrepreneurship in schools. And it's actually at that level where children should actually be taught already that, for me to be able to survive, I will have to understand what entrepreneurship is about. We've seen in the National Development Plan 2030 that we should be creating 11 million jobs by the year 2030, and we're not close to that. So that means that government and the private sector, your large businesses, are unable to really create those jobs in, the economy. And therefore, we are looking to small businesses. That means that from a young age, when a child understands their responsibility to, start a small business and to operate that small business, they'll understand how important it is to create employment in a country where our unemployment rate is so, so high. I think also what really is important for us as SEDA is that an entrepreneur, when a small business would see this as an entrepreneurial journey. It wouldn't be a quick fix, because a lot of people come in as they would go to the doctor and they would want us to diagnose quickly to quickly fix. But it is, a journey that we take. We start with the business by talking, then we start assisting the business. then we, grow the business, and then ultimately it then becomes sustainable for us to know that we have done what we set out to do as an agency of the Department of Small Business Development.
All right, great insights there, Colin. Thank you so much for raising that point. Now, Gerald, kunenkinga lenkulu la. Uthola ukuthi nginesishumba senyama, nginetinkhuni, kepha-ke kude lolutho lwemechiso ukuthi-ke ngiklwebhe ngibase ngipheke uthole ukuthi sengiyalamba. In short, I've got a piece of meat, I've got firewood, but there's no match for me to start the fire and cook the meat. So simply put, what's the point of having a business idea yet I don't have the means of implementing that business idea? In short, I don't have the necessary resources to start the business. I guess that is the dilemma that so many of South Africans, perhaps millions of South Africans, have in terms of starting their own businesses and growing them for their own sustainability.
Look, I think I'm going to counter myself and say, look, business sustainability is the most important part. Although I called it a hustle, the reason it becomes a side hustle is because it starts small. But for most people, they think their idea is going to make them millions. I'm not going to be the first person to tell you this, but your idea is not the first. So a lot of the time, many entrepreneurs are walking around believing they've got this idea which will change the world, but it's not original. So we need to first respect the fact that an idea needs to be proven. And that's proving an idea is when you start your small business, first start testing your family and friends. Are they willing to consume the product or the service or solution which you are serving? If you think you are good at cooking, let your family tell you first before you go trying to sell your food to the neighbors. And also, when it comes to ideas, protect your ideas. A lot of the time, you are right. You do have that one original idea, but you tell the whole road. And then there's someone called John at the end of the road who's got money, and you didn't have money, and John takes your idea. So it's important as part of the entrepreneurial development process to protect your idea. Register it at the CIPC, say, this is my idea. Also, when you go through that process of registration, you can see, no, it's not your own idea. Other people are thinking the same thing, and it puts you back to earth. Now, I think these are some important concepts which can only be learned through the courses, entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial ideas being planted at school. That your idea doesn't necessarily mean it's the best idea, and even ideas, they cost money. And when you do have that idea and you're looking for money, there are many places you can get money. First place you can get money is your family and friends. Don't run to the bank, because if you've proven your idea at home, you're a good cook, they're willing to support you. Start small. Businesses don't start big, they start small. Second thing, there's Ama Stokvel, there's your community. Ask the local Stokvel to invest in your business. They call it venture capital in fancy English, but it's really people who are believing in you and planting into your business. Because I know SEDA, SIFA, they've got hundreds and thousands of applications. But the first thing they'll ask an applicant is, where else did you look for money? And you say, no, I haven't asked anyone else. But you've got family, you've got friends, you've got a community around you. There's, crowdfunding, there's angel investors. So let's also open and free our minds of the notion that money comes from a bank or money comes from the government and money is free. Money is not free. And part of that is about understanding that for you to get money for your business, you might need to give up shareholding. You might need to say, okay, I'll give you half the business. If you give me the pots, I need to cook the food. So I think, these are some of the things which would really point to a need for more education around building a business, and also understanding that when you take in money, it's turnover, it's not profit. Profit only happens after you've bought your new stock. So all those kinds of concepts are lacking. And I think that's also leads to the misconception that business is hard. Business is not hard, but if you set yourself a very high target, it becomes very hard.
All right, thank you so much for raising that point again, Gerald. Let's take another call. Sinazameka ulapha-ke emthatha. Sekumoya ehlelweni sawubona.
Hello, Nzimande.
Siyaphila ukukhuluma nathi mama. What's on your mind?
Yes, Nzimande.
Khuluma nathi mama.
Ngisemthatha Nzimande.
Thetha nathi mama.
Oh, okay. Ngicela ubuza kuso kwa NYDA, phana kwa NYDA aconsiderisha SABC development, because I'm 38.
Okay.
I want ngaya phaya, but ke ndafumana into yobana andifumani, and okwesibini uSEDA sinapho ezilokishini sine-problem. Umzekelo emthatha ama-stockless sidinga ndinayo ikhampani i-registered but ndidinga i-sport sokwenza i-business yami. Ndiya umasipala ndenze zonke zalo but njengokuthi akukho mntu ndigayidayo uba mandiye apha ndenze kanjani.
Okay, asasive ukuthi-ke na uya e-NYDA yini inkinga abonayo and bakutshela kuthini e-NYDA nase-SEDA khona?
Bangitshela nge-age ngoba njengo-2019 nawa 36 ngoba so basandibuza uba ithini age bathekisa age group.
Okay, NYDA being a national youth development agency, and siyathi-ke ukuthi-ke umthetho la isikhwahlande-ke udescribe insha between 16 and the ages of 35, and yeah, we have Nelisiwe Nzimande on the line who will be taking us through that particular issue. That was Zameka from Mthatha Samakhulu kushayela. For now, let's take another break. Hlala nathi kungasanyakade siyabuya khona nyalo. Leli lungelo lakho. Welcome back, everybody. Please call us on 011-714-5859 or 011-714-6778. These are participation lines. You can call us right now. And remember to only call these lines when we are on air, which is right now. Repeat. Please use those numbers on your screens right now. Well, Colin Leshou from SEDA. We had a caller from Mthatha saying that, well, she's 38 years of age, and she went to NYDA to ask for assistance, and she was told that they can't assist her because of her age. Now, there's the issue of exclusion of some sort. So how does SEDA deal with such?
Yeah, no. From a SEDA perspective, so we don't really look at age. We help, young people up to the age where you feel you are still, fit to run a business. So for us, at any age, you can come to us and we would be able to assist you. I think one of the things, and you've said it well, is that there is exclusion on some of the programs with others, other agencies, etc. But with SEDA, we try to be very inclusive. We've got programs which is specifically for women. We've got programs that we look at specifically for youth. We've got programs where we're looking at, people with disabilities, etc. So that means that, we cater for everybody's needs and making sure that from an entrepreneurial ecosystem perspective, we are able to then, once we have assisted them with the non-financial assistance, send them off to either a CFA for financial assistance or any of the commercial banks, etc. We also work closely with Kula, the Kula Credit Guarantee Scheme. It's also part of CFA, and they're responsible for, guarantees or credit guarantees in the country. And we then make sure that even with assisting SMMEs with those guarantees, we are able to do that. So meaning that wherever she is, we've got 54 branches, as I've said. There is a branch in Mthatha, so she can reach out to the branch in Mthatha and they would be able to assist her with whatever she needs.
Yeah, and speaking of branches, let's talk about, how do we access these opportunities? What do people need to do? Do they need to write a letter? Do they need to call your offices, or do they simply need to walk in those offices? And just take us through the entire process, the eligibility to apply for funding and so on.
So just because of COVID-19, what we do not want is that people just walk into the offices to make sure that we are able to control who is coming into the office. Obviously, we would never turn someone away, but we would like for them to first contact the branch. We've got all of our branch details on the SEDA website, which is at www.seda.org.za. You can go onto the website, you would find the branch that's closest to you. You will then reach out to the branch by phoning them or emailing them, because their email details is also on there. And then from there, they would then make an appointment with you. Our first step would be what we call information sharing. So we have an information session with you. Once you've gone through the information session, we will then, allocate a business advisor to you that will then assist you with, assessments, etc. Once you've done an assessment, we will then be able to assist you with some of our interventions that we have. In our case, we pay 90%, up to 90% of the cost of the intervention, because we are an agency of government, meaning we are spending taxpayers' money. And normally the client will then be responsible for 10% of that, or what we call their own contribution. So that is how we do it. It's first an information session. You would phone the branch, make an appointment, come in for the information session. After the information session, business advisors allocated, and then magic happens, because that's where they start, with the assessment and then assisting you with interventions.
All right, we have to go to an ad break now, and just hold your thought with regards to what kind of businesses that SEDA funds, or is it just about any business, or there's certain businesses that you are considering? And now again, Nelisiwe sicela ukuthi utilungiselele ngoba ke sitawubuya kuwe emva kweli khefu ngendzaba yokuthi ke nangabe insha ifuna uku-aplayela lusito NYDA kumele usebente njani. But for now, let's take a final commercial break. Siphinde sibuye khona nyalo leli lungelo lakho ungasanyakati. Sasibongole futhi ngibukele siqhubeke futhi nenkulumo yethu leli lungelo lakho. Sina Nelisiwe Nzimande from the National Youth Development Agency. Nelisiwe, siyathemba ukuthi usesenathi sisi.
Ngisesekhona bhuti.
Okay, usichazele kabanti ke Colin Leshou from SEDA ngema processes eku-aplayela lusito lokucala ibhizinisi ke kuleyo insha nangabe ke banema business ideas. Ukhulumile ke phambilini ukuthi you offer mentorship and coaching with regards to starting their businesses. Kumele bente njani? What's the first step? Do they call? Do they walk in? Do they simply, check out your website and take it from there?
Okay, aqale qaleni. So uKholini usho kahle ukuthi with COVID-19 as branches and districts of our government institution, we don't want overcrowding, we don't want to create super spreader events. So okumqoka ukuthi bafonele branchini find out ukuthi amathuba wokuzovakashela ebranchini abanini. So the first thing engingabeluleka ukuthi bayenze as young people is to go onto our website, which provides details of all of our programs as well as the criteria ezobasiza ukuthi baqqualify. And umphendule kahle usisi wase Eastern Cape. Unfortunately, we're an agency of young people, so thina futhi siqala kwa 18 when you are able to contract as a young person to 35. And bezeke then mebefika ke kuma branch similar to SEDA bayangena baya-assesswa. Yilento bengikhuluma ngayo kokuqala ukuthi uzo-assesswa whether i-young person ekufuneke ingene through the job stream, and is it a young person ofuneka ngene on the entrepreneurship stream. And they are also allocated to BDO similar to SEDA. They are trained through business management training if they do not have existing training that they have done. Then apply through our processes, which the forms are also available online, and then process iqhubeke kanjalo. But it's very similar to SEDA ukuthi funeke beze ke ebranchini ukuthi kakhulu bathole usizo.
Akusithi sonke ke Nelisiwe lesine internet kuze ukuthi ke sithole kungena ku website yethu. So ngimaphi ke ama branch ungakhona kusichazela kabantu ukuthi ke aphi lama branch enu kulama district? Okay, usilahlekele ke. Yeah, usilahlekele ke lapha Nelisiwe. That was Nelisiwe from the National Youth Development Agency. Now, Gerald, just before we wrap the show, we are out of time, unfortunately. So is there any wisdom in taking, in dipping into your pension fund, in dipping into your savings, and for those who've lost their jobs, unfortunately, as a result of COVID-19, and as a result of, some companies going through financial difficulties, dipping into their retrenchment packages and starting their businesses, and considering that starting a business can be of, a risk of a higher magnitude?
Look, I think, it's a difficult question to answer on a blanket mode, but yes, there are certain instances when that you are advanced in age and you're not going to be employable very easily, and you really want to take that risk. But what's important to realize is that with any business venture, there is a lot of risk because businesses do fail. Not everyone makes it. But if you set your goals to a manageable expectation, you can actually put money aside from your savings or your retrenchment package to start a small hustle. Not a side hustle, a small hustle, which you can basically grow over time. Because there's also a lot of opportunities such as recycling, where you can start a business without necessarily getting funding. Because it's important to realize that these national agencies are getting inundated with applications. And as much as they are doing their best, if you don't get a positive answer from NYDA or SEDA, don't give up. Think of a way in which you can start up your little venture without needing funding from a big agency, or start much smaller with family and friends funding you, etc. So in answer to your question, is it worth taking your savings or your retrenchment package to start a business? Under normal circumstances, no. I would say, look, continue to seek employment because you need that money to sustain you. But because of where we're going with record unemployment and opportunities being so rare in the employment space, yes, there are certain ventures you can start. Agriculture is a great venture. You plant a seed, as long as there's water, something will grow, you'll get your money back. Same thing with livestock, same thing with recycling. So yes, there are certain businesses which you can say go for. Chickens, goats, pigs, they can be sustainable. But obviously certain businesses where you need to buy marketing material, print business cards and posters, and you don't know if this thing will succeed, I would say it's a much higher risk. Stay away from those kinds of opportunities until you've proven that your other hustle or your small hustle is actually sustainable.
All right, thanks for that, Gerald. Let's take our final call. Julius, we'll have a click stop.
Hey, Baba,
Kulma nathi baba, what's on your mind?
Niyababiza baze apho kwinto Yilungelo Lakho ne thina abasisizi ndike ndaya lene
bobani labo ukhuluma ngabani lapha
uthetha no Julius apha eClickstop
bobani labantu lobabitile lokhuluma ngabo
ba SEDA ndike ndaya SEDA ne
okay
ndine incubator ndifuna ngale incubator anti ufaka amaqanda incubator le hatch incubator
oh le macanza okay
so kanye banisize yabo ndabayeka
bathini ke yini ke reason lebakunika yona ukuthi bangakusidi
kuthi bathi sibone abadili ngalonto
bathini
so they don't deal with that
okay
abantu ayikuthi bayathunga benza i-tuck shop ne crèche thina mna banokwazi ungisiza kanye banireferela to the right person.
Okay, Julius, thank you so much. We have an official from SEDA who will be addressing that concern. Now, Colin, I guess it leads to my next question that I raised earlier on about what kind of businesses does SEDA fund? Nangna Julius Lapa Uzi, he approached SEDA offices with regards to getting assistance because he's got an incubation business, but then he was told that SEDA can't be of assistance to him. What kind of businesses do you fund?
Okay, so SEDA basically looks at all sectors of the economy. We fund all sectors of the economy. The only type of businesses that we do not look at is businesses which we call sin businesses. That would be taverns, it would be places where prostitution takes place, etc.
Okay.
Those kind of businesses we will definitely not assist.
But under what circumstances was Julius's application rejected?
I would like for Julius to reach out to me and I will then take it up with the provincial manager for Northwest because I'm not too sure what had happened there, but I am happy to assist him in terms of that.
All right, Colin Leshou from the Small Enterprise Development Agency, Gerald Mwandiambira from the South African Savings Institute, Kanye Nelisiwe and Nzimande from the National Youth Development Agency on the line. Thanks to you three for joining us. Let me thank my guests for taking their time to be with us today. Please do join my colleague Alicia Jali next week for yet another exciting consumer affairs discussion. From Miss Impio and the rest of the team, and wishing you all a great week and a happy Freedom Day. Cheers.